Hey there, Steve Johnson, Mentor 555, coming to you from Medellin, Colombia. My family and I, we live between here and Austin, Texas. To say that I'm blessed to be in the mortgage industry would be an absolute understatement. And because of that, I want to be able to bring friends of mine, people in my sphere that crush it, that lead from the front, that are beasts in the industry. And I couldn't think of anyone better to have on my very first episode than John McClellan with Supreme Lending. Like I said, the man leads from the front. His team is spectacular. They've closed over $4 billion worth of loans over the last 10 years. The last 2 years, they've crushed it. Yeah, like many of us have. But what are they doing now with the changing market? What's he doing from a leadership perspective? He's going to share that insight with us today. Not only is he a great mortgage leader, but he also has a fantastic radio show. He has an award-winning hot sauce, ATX hot sauce. So strap them on, jump on board, have fun with us. And if you like what you hear today, click that subscribe button. We'd love for you to follow us. Many, many more to come, but today's day one. Thanks a lot. We'll see you. John McClellan, welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, Steve. How are you doing, bud?
I'm great. It
Man,
is
it's a
amazing to have you here. Give me a fist bump here.
Pleasure
Love
to
you.
be here.
Yes.
Not sure really what we're doing in here.
No,
in this
well, you're not
closed
going to
room.
know. Yeah, the entire time you're going to have no idea.
I didn't know I was going to be in a closet with you somewhere.
Well, sometimes there's a closet to be in with me, right? It's what we do when we come out of it, right?
That's right. That's exactly
John
right.
McClellan, one of my best friends, one of my absolute amazing people in my life.
25 years, I think.
25 years. It's been a day or two.
Yeah.
And during that time, I've seen you grow up, as a man, as a human being, as a father, as a friend, and you've got two great kids. You've got Noah and Emma.
That's right.
Right? Are they both officially out of college now?
Thank God, yes, because they were both going to Baylor. Emma's 25, working for a great company based out of Norway. She travels all over the place all the time.
Where is she, in Norway?
No,
okay.
She's based out of here,
Okay.
but her company's based out of Norway. So she gets to go to Europe, travel around the United States to do stuff. And Noah's doing fantastic too. He works for me and at the mortgage company, and he also has a side gig doing catering and doing stuff like that.
Well, he was
he's
big into
23.
acting too. I mean, he was.
He was. When he was in college, though, was when COVID hit, and as you can imagine, Zoom classes when you're doing acting, as you well know, do not go over very well, right? And when everybody's wearing a mask, you can't see their facial expressions. You can't see really what's going on. It's hard to act with a mask on.
Well, maybe that was my mistake when I was going through the acting bug. Yeah, I
You
might have
kept
been a
the
better
mask
actor. Yeah,
with the
they're
mask
like,
on.
they say you have a face for radio.
Yeah.
So he's so they're both great. The kids are great. You're looking fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yep, and
Recently took up wake surfing.
I remember we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Is that are you doing that here locally on Travis?
Yeah, Lake
or on-
Travis.
okay.
Friends of mine have a boat, and we go out there during the summer. I have yet to let go of the rope while I'm surfing, but I'm getting better at it.
Okay,
So,
very good.
yeah.
And is this one of the boats where they let the water in, let the water out, where the bait goes in? Okay,
yeah. So you're surfing on a surfboard on the wake behind the boat.
They say some of the best friends to have are the ones that own boats.
Yeah, not
right?
your
Not
boat.
you.
Yeah. Well, you know what boat stands for, right?
You tell me, like
Bust out another 1,000.
bust out another 1,000.
Yeah.
Like Ford found on road dead, right? Yeah,
Exactly right. Exactly right. So other friends' boats are the best boats you can have.
So you've always loved the outdoors. You've always loved golf. I don't know if golf has always loved you, but it's like a love-hate
depends on the day.
relationship.
Actually, it depends on the swing or the hole, right? Some days are better than others.
And you dig traveling. You're still traveling a lot. I want to hear a little bit about that today. But part of the reason for having you on today is because you're an absolute beast in our industry. You're someone that I've always admired from up close, from afar. From a leadership position, from production before you got into leadership, I want to touch on those today. Supreme Lending, that you're basically y'all been married for 12 years or 15, or how long y'all been together?
It's been 15 and a half years. So, Supreme Lending's the parent company. And for the layman out there, it's basically like a franchise. It's called a net branch, but it's basically like a franchise for what most people think of it. We have offices here, Dripping Springs, and 2 in Houston.
And so
I personally do.
You do.
Yeah,
So you have 3 offices.
4 offices.
4 offices.
And then there is the main office, the corporate office is up in Dallas. They're in 49 different states. They do between 15 and $18 billion a year
Okay.
out of production.
So let's say that again.
All residential.
All between 15 and 18
Yeah,
billion?
this year obviously is probably going to be a
Yeah.
little bit lower with,
Yep.
with what's going on in our industry right
Mhm.
now. But I believe last year was about 18 billion is what they did in mortgage loans, residential mortgage loans.
And then what did you? I know the last couple of years for all of us have been magical,
Yeah,
right?
and I've been jumping around from around 450 million to 610 million.
Okay.
Respectively, just year in and year out. You know, as you know, this business is cyclical.
Mhm.
We're going through one of those down cycles right now, and we're probably going to touch base on that here in a little while. But you know, closing 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 billion. You get pretty busy, right? I've got a lot of great staff. A lot of them have been working with me for a very long time. One guy's been with me for 20 years. A couple of them are for 18 years, 12, 13 years. And that's pretty unheard of in the mortgage industry when people work for you for, a decade or two.
Well, and being in town, I try to stack my guests whenever I can. Had you and John Schuetze, was here prior, and
good friend of mine.
Good, great guy, great producer. I know that you guys worked together for a long time, and in our conversation, he actually brought you up. He said that part of who I am as a mortgage professional, and doing what I've done, from a production standpoint, I owe to John.
Well,
he said you brought him in
it's
under
all
his
about
wing.
his hard work, not mine. Right?
Yeah. But he, you acted as a mentor at times for him, and and we each grow and we go our different paths. But obviously, he's done quite well.
I think that's one of my favorite things that I love to do is mentor other people, right, and bring them up and tell them about the mistakes I've made in my past and the good things that happen. I truly believe that you can never be great without great mistakes, right? Because you learn from them and you move.
But they
forward
say you fail forward. Is that right?
Fail forward. I like that. Yeah, you can fail forward. But anybody who's told never made a mistake in their life is number
They
one.
walk on water.
They walk on water, right? Or they're a liar.
Right. Most often, if we're talking to them, in the present.
And I think you should be proud of your mistakes, and show people that you can overcome adversity, and that's one of the keystones of living a life. No matter if you're in the mortgage business or real estate or engineer or just a guy working in a tavern somewhere, you're going to make mistakes in life. As long as you learn from them and move forward, then I think you can be a successful person no matter what that looks like, and follow your passion too.
Well, and you've done that, with mortgage, because we're going to touch on that today. Your passion with mortgage, but also your passion, your passion for travel, your passion for food, your passion for your time with your friends and those that are in your close sphere.
Yeah.
I mean, you have ATX.
I got a hot sauce company that came out of a passion project with me and my kids.
I remember when you were cooking that in like in the kitchen at your house.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, Steve, try this. And I'll be like, oh, my God, my mouth is on fire. Okay, well, I'll peel that back just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, my taste buds are a little jaded, I guess would be a great word for it.
That's a Texan in you.
I taste hot sauce now, and I'm like, oh, that's not hot at all. Somebody else will be like, oh, that just burned my mouth off. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and she's like, one of the reasons I like you, we started going, I really started liking you because you're busier than I am. And she's pretty busy too. But she's like, you have 3 jobs, because I've been doing a radio show on KLBJ for 18 years. I have a hot sauce company, and I run a fairly successful mortgage company. And those take up a lot of time.
I want to talk a little bit about that balance today, right?
Yeah.
Most people can't even handle 1 job, let alone 3 in your case.
There's a lot of hours in the day, Steve. And I think people don't utilize them the way they should, right? And you got to get in, I think routine and consistency is an important part of that.
Well, let's touch on that. So if we back up, I've known you, since we were pups in this industry, and we've both grown up together, and in this world. But leading up to that, I know that you had, you had your parents, you had your father who passed away when you were younger.
Yeah, first day of my senior year in high school.
Yeah, and so I'd like to touch a little bit about that. How did that affect you? Was that clearly that was a pivotal point in your life?
Yeah.
Right, and then you had a choice at that time.
In my life, I've had some very successful men in my family, and women, of course, right? Both of my grandfathers were wealthy beyond belief, but not in money.
Okay.
But in experience and the attributes that they carry through on a daily basis. They were also exact opposites. My grandfather, who lived in Dallas, was actually born in 1896.
Is this your mom's side or your dad's side?
My dad's, my mom's side.
Mom, okay.
Born in 1896. He lived to be 102 years old, 102. He almost made it to 3 centuries and 2 millennia.
Okay.
Think
yeah,
about that.
That
Think
would
about
be,
that's a small group of people.
yeah.
And in fact, my
I
great
mean, only like 30-40% of the people ever do that.
yeah, right. Well, I don't know about that. But I mean, if you think about it, the 1800s, 1900s, and 2000s, he almost made it to 2000s. His sisters, two of his sisters, did live in 3 centuries and 2 millennia.
That's insane.
I mean
Yeah.
that really is a small band. But anyway, he grew up. I don't think he ever finished 3rd grade.
Okay.
He's up in Dallas. Went to work for the railroad when he was very, very young. Went through the Depression. When he retired from the railroad, he started an insurance business when he was like 60 years old. Very successful.
Okay.
He lived in had a house in University Park, Dallas, which is right next to Highland Park.
Yeah, Highland Park.
One of the things he was very forward thinking is he built a duplex right next to a place called Schneider Plaza. If you know, anybody who's watching this may know Dallas, downtown Dallas, or up in Highland Park area.
Mm-hmm.
And so that income off that other duplex, I mean, helped him and my grandmother after the retirement age to live for a long time. My
Were they
grandmother
living
lived-
on one side and renting out the other?
They were.
Okay.
The whole time.
Mhm.
I think they built it in 1949, and until their deaths. And my grandmother lived to be 102.
Okay.
She was a very successful travel agent. In fact, she was still booking travel agencies when she was 85, 90 years old, booking seniors and going on trips. And I actually got to go on a trip to New York with him when my grandfather was like 94. And you got to think, this is a 94-year-old man who had all of his cognitive abilities, was still in great shape, would still mow the lawn, rake the yard, do all this other stuff until he died. He actually got the flu and died. But he showed me that no matter where you come from or what you do, that hard work pays off and making good decisions, being good with your money is the right way to go, right?
Yep.
So just from a not educated, but just hardworking, smart in his own right, really showed me that it's all about what you do, not what's given to you, right?
Yeah.
Then you flip over to my dad's side, my grandfather. He was a district judge. He was
Out of where?
Gatesville, Texas.
Okay.
He was a 3-county area district
For
judge.
our audience that doesn't know where Gatesville is, you may have to just expand
So
it.
it's if you know where Fort Hood is, it's a little bit north of Fort Hood. It's west of Waco.
Okay.
He was also the district attorney in this whole area. Before that, he was a pilot in the Air Force.
Well, now, real quick, where'd he go to law school?
Baylor Law School.
Baylor, so okay,
Yeah,
so
my whole
that's
family.
where the
Yeah, that's
where
where
that
the Baylor
comes
thing
in.
comes
Okay.
from. And he was a B-52 pilot in World War II.
Okay.
Through flew sorties. Very highly educated person. Very, very successful. And he showed me that the importance of education and also hard work and doing the right thing.
Okay.
And so I had these two great men in my life. My
Very
whole life,
different, very
right,
different
who were
point of
very
view, yeah.
came from completely different backgrounds, completely different education, but who I really fed into because they were both of them, no matter where they were, and the scale, were just amazing men, right? Who supported their family, loved on their family, did all these things. And then my grandmother's the same way. They were there supporting and doing that. So that's the greatest generation, though. We all know the greatest generation, and they truly were. And then I had my mother, who's absolutely amazing, and a father but he unfortunately passed away when I was 17, first day of my senior year in high school.
And that was a tragic loss too.
It
right?
was huge.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a lawyer because half the people in my family are lawyers, and is that a good thing?
They say
Sometimes.
half the time it is.
Half the time it is, and it was. It showed. That was when my dad died. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
So my mom and dad had been divorced, and I was living with my dad. And when he passed away, and I was living in Coppers Cove, and I would go back and forth between Coppers Cove and Austin, where my mom lived. Coppers Cove is about an hour north of here.
It's a bedroom community outside of the Fort Hood area, right?
A bedroom community.
It's gotten big over there.
Town. Yeah,
Okay. I played ball with a kid from Coppers Cove. Yeah. But that's not far from Waco for our audience.
Anyway, I was on this tract, and I got good grades. I think I was pretty smart. Thought I was, and
still to be determined.
TBD. And then when my father passed away, I kind of went sideways.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I struggled for about 4 or 5 years with adversity and with drinking too much and partying too much and not really caring about anything.
Yeah.
During that time, I've met some of my best friends, though, that I'm still best friends with.
Okay. Yeah.
We've all grown out of that, I would think. But it was, it was a tumultuous time. And but I think I also learned a lot from it. We talked earlier about when you make mistakes, you got to move forward and you got to turn them around. And it's never the end until it is the end, right?
Yeah.
Until you don't get back up.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I learned out of that is to stop blaming your past for your future, because it's at the cost of your future. When you blame your past and take everything from the past, it's at the cost of your future. And you've got to live for today and what's going to go on tomorrow, and learn the lessons of the past, but don't let them bring you down. I know people that still dwell on things that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they blame their failures today on something that happened 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And you can't do that. You just can't do that. You can learn from it.
I was going to say, you can use those as learning lessons.
Don't erase it from your mind.
Yeah.
But don't think it's what's causing your problems right now. And if it is what's causing your problems right now, then fix it.
Yeah.
Do something about it.
Yeah. Use it as a tool instead of a crutch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so most of us can't imagine what it would be like losing a parent or someone as close to you, clearly, as you and your father were. And the men in your life, your grandfathers, were instrumental in helping you understand what it's like to be a man, to be a provider. And I'm assuming
they were great examples of that, for sure.
And so when you lost your father, did they step in even?
They did.
Okay.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. At that point in your life, when you're 18 years old, 19 years old, and you're going through that, you do give them a little bit of the Heisman, your whole family, right? Which there's some regret
because you had your
there.
buddies at the time.
Yeah, right. That they both lived well into their elder ages, and were able to see me when I got married, when I had kids, meet my kids. So that was, they saw that transformation from punk kid that was blaming his past for everything and all the decisions he makes today to, I believe, a person that sort of grew up, right, and tried to make good decisions and try to be a good provider for his family.
So being a provider for your family, right, we're both beyond blessed in this mortgage industry that we've been in for a number of years. And whether it's
I'm a pinch you, dude.
pinch me,
Pinch
are we still alive, right?
We are. This has been a great run in the real estate industry.
Even when it hasn't been a great run, it's been a great run.
Yeah.
Because that
as
helps
long
us
as you
recalibrate.
persevered through it.
Yeah, you have
like
to.
08 and 09.
And we've all had, if you've been in this world long enough, you have your peaks and you have your valleys, whether it's from income perspective and emotional perspective and everything in between. You've been in the industry for 27
years. 28 years actually now.
28. And you're 54?
56.
56. Okay.
I know.
You don't look a day. You don't look a day over 55.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So you got in when you were like late 20s, right?
Okay. I was 28 and a half.
28 and a half. Okay. So you had that window. Teenage year. We're numbers guys, so we get this right.
And I was in the restaurant business before I got in the mortgage business.
I remember that.
I tried to go to college.
Okay.
So when people ask me, "Did you go to college?" I go, "Yeah, I
tried.
tried."
Yeah. Some of us try for many years, and then it turns out or it doesn't. So, but you were bartending at night and going to college at the same time, or
I was waiting tables, bartending, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Probably one of my longest gigs was at a place called Pearl's Oyster Bar on 183,
North Austin,
back in the late '80s, early
'90s.
And
for our audience, that was the place.
It was the place.
Yeah.
It was the place. It was Cajun food, great lunches, great dinners. At 10 o'clock, they'd shut all the dinners down, and it was a band. Bands would play there. I mean, Greg Kinn, Billy Preston, Firefall, every local band you could ever think of. I mean, it was the place to go, and probably one of the places to go in Austin. It's a great music venue, open till 2 a.m. Sometimes that was good or bad.
Yeah.
If you were working and going to school.
There's a story there too, I'm sure.
We're not going to talk about those right now.
That was one of the ones that was off limits.
That's exactly. I put that on the list.
What happens between 2 and 4 at Pearl? Never happened.
Nobody knows. The blinds come down. But it was a great. I think the restaurant business is a great place to learn about life.
No doubt.
You learn a bunch of things. You learn how to work hard for no money, right? You learn to consolidate your moves. You learn to work under pressure.
Now you were waiting tables and then you transitioned to bartending.
I was doing a little bit of both,
okay.
and sometimes part-time managing too.
Yeah.
But you learn to persevere. You learn to consolidate moves. You learn to work under pressure, not make and work long hours. And how do you get through all that? And then as a salesperson, I think it's also very, very important being a waiter. So if you think about it, a waiter gets to practice sales every time he walks up to a table, and he gets almost instant gratification for it, right?
Yep.
That instant gratification, if he treats if he reads that table correctly within the first 30 to 45 seconds, and he knows how to treat them and what they want from him, sometimes it's full service, sometimes it's just back off and let us alone, or a myriad of other things. Once you learn that, and then you get better tips, and so it reinforces it over and over again. Then you do that for a couple of years.
Similar as a bartender also.
A bartender's the same way. The difference between a bartender and a waiter is a waiter wants to be your friend, a bartender you want to be their friend.
Okay. It's like a blackjack dealer.
Yeah, exactly right. We're always nice to those guys. But, it's you work that pressure and you learn how to be doing sales. And the better you are at sales, the more money you make. And you make it that instantly, right?
Yeah.
In our business, it could be 30 days or 45 days or 60 or 90 days before you see the fruits of your hard work when you start a file or you're helping a family get into a home. It could be,
it could be over
the
a
sales
year
life
sometimes,
cycles can be very long sometimes. And so that's what I think working in restaurants, it provides this framework for you to be a great salesperson. But a great salesperson is always a person, and this is one thing I've loved about you over the years, is the best salespeople out there are the ones that work hard. They're not the ones that are just great sales guys, right? For 10 or 15 minutes or 2 hours or 3 hours a day.
We've seen guys like that. Guys that get in on the refi booms.
And then they're gone. Sales is hard work. It's nothing is given to you. You start the first of every month from ground zero again. It's like you climb a mountain, and then you start, then all of a sudden, whoosh, you're down at the bottom.
Zip line down.
And then all of a sudden you got to start climbing it again. And I think it teaches you how to be a good salesman, how to be a people person, how to read people. And I think that's very, very important to see, and not to read them in a bad way, but to know what their wants and needs are.
And you did that for how many years? For like 6 years?
From the time I was 18 to 28.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
for 10
years.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a good life during that time, right?
So I have an acronym for you, okay? And it's this. You heard about this?
THIS. Okay.
THIS. So the T stands for, ready? Trust.
Okay.
Okay. Trust, and then hear.
Okay.
And then infer, and then you sell. So trust, build trust in somebody, hear what they have to say, infer what they need, and then sell them, right?
Did you come up with that? Like, did you recognize that?
I saw it somewhere years ago. But the problem
you heard it on the radio on the way over?
What happens if you put sale at the beginning and trust at the end?
Yeah.
What does that spell?
Shit.
It does.
Does it?
It does.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's this philosophy is you got to build people's trust, hear what they have to say, infer what they need, and then sell them what they, be the salesman and what they need. If you put the sales first and the trust at the end, you're gonna end up with shit, right? Not this.
So that time in that world, and for me, it resonates because I waited tables as well. During college summers, during college, and you're right. One of the things I wrote down a second ago when you mentioned, that you have 30 to 60 seconds to, understand what that table is wanting from you. It's about mirroring, right? You're going to mirror your client, and a lot of what we do in mortgage is just that. Whether it's the client that we're trying to serve, or the realtor, or the builder.
It's not to take advantage.
It's understanding.
It's to
what do they
interpret
want?
what they need, right? And I think that's the most important thing because these people do put their trust in us.
Yeah.
And trust is a hard thing to earn, and it's easy to give away.
Well, and I think that staying on that mindset, like if you're a bartender and you're across the bar from, Joe and Bob and Johnny and whomever it is, Joe might be a physician, Bob might be an attorney, and Johnny might be an engineer, an electrician, whatever it might be, right? And each of their personalities is going to fall in, or at least what I
sounds like a Billy Joel song.
It really, we should write this down.
We could call it piano a mortgage man.
I bet y'all probably played a few Billy Joel songs at the bars over the years. But I think that I can see how that can set the foundation, or did set the foundation for you. For me, it helped set the foundation for me from hustling, from being a waiter, right? Work ethic.
Well, I'm sure your baseball career probably did that for you too.
Baseball helped too. I think sports really helps a lot of people, in so many ways, from however you are dedicated to your craft. And speaking of that, you're a pretty athletic guy. You're a bigger guy. What sports did you play as a younger man that you really, really bought into that helped you become more dedicated to your craft?
Probably Madden, Oh,
Madden
no,
sports?
oh, no, real sports.
I'm not talking about
real
last week.
sports.
Yeah.
I played baseball and football when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Played football in high school and junior high. Played baseball up until probably 8th grade. Right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I did like baseball. I was absolutely horrible at it.
Okay. But you enjoyed it?
That's okay. I enjoyed it, but I was always out in left field.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's
Left field pays like $30 million a year now. So that's okay.
Yeah. Or right field like Judge,
right
right?
field, right?
It's yeah. I love sports. I'm a little bit competitive.
Okay. Well, and I know
As
that.
you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I know that. And I think that you in a lot of ways you have to be, whether it is when you're flipping bottles, your competitiveness might be with another bartender, might be with that person across the table from you. I'm going to compete to get the best tip out of you, but I'm also going to get to know you. I'm sure that you probably had a lot of customers when you were at Pearl that were your regulars, right? They're like, hey, I want to sit here with John.
Let me give you an example, and I'm going to go a little bit further back in my life. And so I worked at the Olive Garden as a waiter.
Yeah, breadsticks.
Breadsticks and unlimited salad and pasta fazool, right?
Yeah,
actually, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And at the Olive Garden, they would have contests every night. Who can sell the most desserts for whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Who can sell the most cheesecakes for whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Who can sing the most happy birthday on this special day? Yes, I did work there. For all here to say, hey, happy birthday.
We did that at Bennigan's too.
Yeah, probably the same cadence too.
Yeah.
So I had there was a contest every night I would work, and there would be a contest. I'm like, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
It may be like a $5 gift certificate or whatever, right?
Could have been anything.
Could have been anything. And every night I would sell the most cheesecakes. I would sell the most most fried cheese or escargot or stuffed mushrooms or whatever it was at the Olive Garden. Those are all menu items, by the way. I still remember for some unknown reason.
You wake up in the middle of the night,
with a waiter dream, maybe in the weeds. But I was in the waiter station, and this guy, and I was probably 19, and this guy was old. He was probably 26. But to a 19-year-old, 26-year-old guy is old, right? And he goes, John, he goes, why do you, this is the stupidest why are you trying so hard? And I turned around and looked at him, and I said, if I can't beat you at selling cheesecake, nobody's ever going to give me another chance outside of this restaurant.
Okay.
So I will beat you tonight.
And you were in your early 20s at that?
Or no,
was that before?
19
okay,
or 20
so that was
years
before
old.
Bartending. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, if I can't beat you, Mr. Whoever you are, because you're complaining about selling extra cheesecakes, it's not about what I'm going to win. It's about
beating
winning.
You. Yeah.
And
where do you think that came from? Like,
I think it came from my dad and both my grandfathers.
So they were instrumental in your life.
They were all very, very competitive people.
And strong individuals.
My grandfather, that was the judge, was actually the Texas State amateur champion 2 years in a row in the 50s.
Golf?
Golf.
Okay.
Yeah,
very good.
Very competitive.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, he was the B-52 pilot, district attorney, then district judge.
Yeah.
Very competitive.
So you come from a family of strong men.
Very strong men and very competitive men. And I think that's where I probably learned it from. It's just something innate inside me that I don't care what the stakes are. Like we play golf together.
Yeah.
If I'm not playing for anything, for no money, I'm kind of lackadaisical about it, and just kind of hang out and I'll swing the club. You want to play for $1 a hole, or $5 a hole, or $10 a hole? My game turns, right? Because I focus and I'm like, all right, it's competition.
You go into clutch mode.
Now it's competition. I've always been that way, and I think it's helped me. And by the way, that's why I was able to bartend later on, right? I was given management positions, and I was offered more money in better restaurants. And when I was a kid, because I had that drive, and I had this, this drive to not be better than somebody, but at that particular job, if it's sweeping up the floor, I'm going to be the best sweeper up of the floor guy there is here, or else I'm going to always be sweeping up floors.
Yeah. Well, and that in as that morphed into mortgage, early on in your mortgage career, I saw that out of you as well. So touch on how you went from bartending into mortgage.
It's a really interesting and funny story. And I think you know it already. But so I was, I was 28 years old, 29 years old, whatever it was. And I was managing Pearls and bartending and waiting tables, right? And I knew this buddy of mine who was in the mortgage business. And I'm like, I need to buy a house. That's the next step in my life, right? I'm, almost 30 years old. I should own a house. So
Single at the time?
I was
you
not.
with-
I was not married, but I was not. I
Okay,
was
you
not
were heading
single.
that way.
I was heading that way.
Mhm.
And I called my buddy Mark and I said, "Hey, listen, I want to buy a house." He goes, "Okay, well, bring your W-2s to the restaurant tomorrow, and I'll come up there and I'll take a look at it. And I need to see your paycheck stubs, right? That's what you do when you
Yep,
qualify
mhm,
somebody."
yep.
So I came in, I sat down with him, he looked at him, and he goes, "You got the wrong job." He goes, "How would you like to be in the mortgage business?" And I don't think he would have given me that opportunity if he hadn't have seen me and worked with me in that restaurant business over the years.
Well, I think it's
So
important
big
to
shout
touch
out
on
to
that.
Mark Greco. Thanks for getting me in the
Yep,
business.
Mark, amazing top producer over many, many years.
Yep.
So I think it's important for our audience to hear that you used a relationship that you had from Mark, who you had worked with prior,
Okay.
who
That's
had gotten into
life.
mortgage.
This is life, by the way.
Yeah, it is, and it's paying attention to what's laid out in front of you. And so you were focused on getting a house. You go to Mark, and was there an aha moment for him when he said that, but for you, where did that light
Well,
turn
I'm like,
on?
well, what is the mortgage business?
Yeah.
I'm like, huh? You just help people buy houses, right? And he goes, I'm not a real estate agent. I help you get the money to buy the house. I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
He goes, why don't you come work part-time? Don't quit your job, for gosh sakes.
This was late 90s, by the way. This was
Early 90s.
Was it
It was early 90s.
90s?
No, it's
97?
This is before my daughter was born. This is before she was even an inkling. This is 94.
Okay, 94?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's 28
94.
years ago. Okay.
Yeah,
About the same
94.
time. We both got in about the same time then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
rates were not low. Let's
no,
be, yeah.
and I'll tell you,
our young audience needs to understand.
Jump ahead a little
Yeah.
bit. The first loan I ever did was a refinance for somebody who refinanced from 14% to 9.5% on a 15-year
Elated.
fix and sent me flowers. So he goes, "Come try it." I go, "Okay." Well, I had to work both. I had to keep my day job because he goes, "I'm not paying you.
Right.
You only get paid if you close a loan."
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember walking in the first day and into the office over in the Echelon buildings off of 183.
Because it was called Echelon Mortgage,
It
right?
was, yeah.
Kind of
Before
like
that,
Northland Funding,
it was
right?
Miracle Mortgage before I got there, but it was Echelon Mortgage. And I remember going, okay. So he goes, here's a loan application. Now go get somebody to fill it out who wants to refinance or buy a house. I'm like, okay. So Keller Williams is downstairs. And I would go to Keller Williams all the time. And I get another funny story about that.
But by the way, for our audience, that was Keller Williams #1.
That was it. Joe
Joe,
Williams
yep.
was there. They were all there.
Gary, yep.
They go, okay, so you take the application, you gather their documentation. If you're going to pull, this is when you had to pull a credit report, you called the credit bureau with their information, and they would fax you just like not a full credit, not an RMCR, but just a regular credit report. They didn't have a lot of stuff. No credit scores at this time, by the way. And
On roll paper?
On roll pay. So you use that. Okay, they don't have any late payments on anything. And then like 3 days later, you'd get the RMCR, Residential Mortgage Credit Report, the full one in
the ones we
in
paid
the
like
mail.
$6 for, right?
In the mail, right? You get it in the mail. And so
they came in like 8.5 by 14.
Right. And then you'd have to fill out the application. They go, okay, we can do it. And then you would send it off to an underwriter by FedEx. And then they would fax in these conditions. Sometimes they would just mail you a conditions list.
You get the appraisal with the photos with the tape on the back.
Yeah. And I didn't even know what a title company was. I'm like, what is this mythical title company thing?
Yeah.
Well, that's where you do the closings. I know, but why? Well, that's just how it's done. Okay, that's how it's done. What's this interest rate? What are points? What are basis points?
And I think that if I could add to that, we got in about the same time, right?
Yeah.
And there wasn't a playbook. Right.
No.
There wasn't, you're going to study to be an attorney. Okay. You know what to do. You pass the
Right.
bar. Okay.
Right.
You want to be a physician. You want to be, okay. You know what you need to do to get to the end game. In mortgage, like you said, they throw you a 1003 application and say, go get them, boy.
Yeah.
Rates are only 9%. They're falling off the trees.
Yeah. But the funny thing is people were still buying houses back
Yeah. Yeah.
then. And it was anyway. So my first month, I think I made $3,200, which was more than I was making at the restaurant.
Okay.
And then the next month I made like $2,800, which was more than I was making at the
But you were
restaurant.
building a pipeline.
Building a pipeline. Then I'm like, I don't need 2 jobs anymore. I'm going to quit the restaurant business.
Yeah.
And I remember my last day and I'm like, peace out,
Yep.
And I didn't
But
make
you stayed friendly. Yeah.
Well, we
you
went
got
there
a
for
lot of
happy hour.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a lot of business out of that. But it was funny. Then 2 months after that first 2 months, Zippo.
Mm-hmm.
Motivates you, by the
Yep.
way. That is, luckily back then you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have all these other things that would that caught. I don't know how young people live anymore, right? I mean, they all have $200 cell phone bills. They have all these other, internet, HBO Max and blah blah Netflix and all this other stuff. I don't know how they did it back then. I had my rent, electricity, which included gas and water, and I didn't have a car payment, and it was made it a lot easier. Anyway, so I went through those 2 months. Those 2 months taught me, though, in this business that it's not all fun and games.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to be constantly working, constantly out. And I remember that
You're self-employed on day one.
You are self-employed, and I remember that first that third month when I didn't have anything in the pipeline, and I'm like, I just quit my job, and now I have no loans closing, and I'm like, I've been going down to Keller Williams downstairs for like 6 or 7 weeks all the time, and they would be like, oh, just put your card here. They would never let me in the back. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go down there, and I went down there. And I'm talking to the receptionist. I go, just let me go put my stuff in their little cubbies back there, because they had their little mail cubbies, right? I go, let me put a flyer on the wall back there. Or let me just go talk to somebody back there. And they're like, no. And something that changed my mortgage life was this amazing woman walks from the back, blonde hair. Name is Lila Nelson. Lila, peace out, peace to you.
We love her.
We love her. Lila walks out and she goes, what is your name? I go, John McClellan. She goes, I'm not Lila Nelson. And she goes, why don't you come on back here with me? She goes, I've heard you come up here and no for like weeks now. And so I thought, after all that perseverance, I might as well talk to you.
Love it.
And I closed a loan with her like about not the next month, because you got to get under contract. And then you close out that. And I remember who that client was. His name was Nolly Williams, who's a real estate. Who's Nolly, who's a real estate agent now, a really successful one. And but back then he owned a record company.
Okay.
And he bought a house. I still remember the house is out in towards Del Diamond, out that direction. Del Diamond wasn't there at that point. But I remember Lila gave me this chance, and she brought me in and introduced me to all these people. And she helped forge my career from that beginning. But if I had just gone down there one time, nothing would have happened. And in the mortgage business, just like in life, you have to hit that tipping point, right? If you work hard at something, there's a tipping point that's going to happen. The problem is, especially the big deal is, you never know when that tipping point, when all your hard work is going to turn over, right?
You don't know when the no is going to turn into a yes.
Week, it could be 2 months, it could be 3 months. And when that tipping point happens, that's when everything makes sense that you've been doing. But it doesn't make sense sometimes when you're moving forward. And I tell my guys this all the time: you're going to do these things. They may not feel right. It may not feel like you're getting any traction.
Your loan officers,
or my kids, or whatever it may be, just life in general.
Which a lot of your loan officers are kind of like your kids.
Some are as old as my kids. But if you do all this hard work, at some point, there will be that tipping point where it pays off. I have a great example. I had this kid that worked for me. This is probably 10 years ago. And he had been, I brought him under my wing because he was a personal trainer. Loved doing that. He was really good at, really motivated, worked his butt off. I'm like, that guy's a good salesman. He works. He's got a great work ethic. I'm going to bring it in. And Josh in my office, we lined out these things for him to do. Okay, you do this for 3 months. Every day you do this, and every other day you do this, and you make these calls, and you go see these people, you go to these events. Then the phone will start ringing, right? About 2.5 months in, he was at his cubicle, and he stands up and he walks over to my office and he goes, "Hey, John." I go, "Yeah." And he goes, I have to quit. I can't do this anymore. I go, "Dude," you've been working so hard. You've been doing everything I said you should do. He goes, I go, let me talk you out of it. Just give it another couple of weeks. He goes, "No, I've already accepted a job at a gym in Houston. I already signed a lease for an apartment. I'm moving." Okay.
Fair enough.
I just shook his hand. I said, "Good luck. This business isn't for everybody." The next day I walk by his desk and his voicemail light's blinking. Pick up the phone, call the voicemail. There's a client on there. "Hey, this is so-and-so from Remax or whatever. Hey, will you call this client of mine?" I'm like, Josh. And Josh picked up the phone, called the guy, got a loan out of it. The next day, there's 2 more messages from 2 other people. One was pointed to a refinance, one was a purchase. Literally within about a month period, there was probably 8 or 9 deals that came off that people just called his voicemail. And if he had just gone to another company, I would have sent it to him. But he was out of the business. And so he didn't realize that he had hit the tipping point. And then he just decided not to move forward.
Yeah.
And then the tipping point happened.
Yeah.
Right while he was leaving. So you never know. And it's not just about sales, but it's about life too.
Right.
Right. And that's why you always got to do the right thing and always push forward. If you make a mistake, regroup, then start making those good decisions again, because that tipping point will happen for you.
It does. And, but they say, it takes 7 or 8 or 9 no's, and it might take 10 or 11 or 12, but, the most recent no means I'm closer
if you're in
to
sales,
the next
you're
yes.
going to get a no.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who thinks they're never going to get a no in life in general is an idiot.
Oh, it can help humble you.
Maybe it is
certainly
too strong.
can. Right. Well, that's strong. But, so is your hot sauce.
Well, we're going to trace that
we're
in a
going to
few
crush
minutes
into
after
that
we
here in a
talk
little
about
bit.
it.
I love it. So the interestingly enough, and you may not know this, but that was the first office, that Keller Williams office up in northwest Austin, was the first one that I really got my wings under me as well. We were probably there about the same time.
Yeah.
And how I figured out to get past that front desk was if I come in there on a Tuesday morning with a couple of boxes of donuts, because that's when they would have their office meetings. I just go past the front desk. Hey, these are for the, oh yeah, of course. Here, you want one? Yeah, there you go. And then you sneak back there. You spend 5 or 10 minutes, and if somebody starts sniffing around, you go out the side door. You may remember the side back door they had there. Yeah. That was right by Mark's office. He had his office downstairs.
Well, we moved downstairs because there was Cynthia, then Joe's office, and then all that. Yeah. So we actually moved downstairs after a while. So
that was a great office.
In fact, I think Joe Williams' office was like literally on the other side of my wall.
And what people
he's such a great guy.
He's such a great guy, and what people don't realize about Joe Williams is that Gary was always the front man, but Joe was the one behind the scenes grinding. He was like that hamster on the wheel, and he flew under the radar. You remember he had that little cubicle desk area there that but he was an inspiration for a lot of the young Keller Williams agents, and I don't think he gets enough credit. He probably does, but a lot of people that are with the KW
just
organization,
a good guy too.
Yeah, great guys. And so when you started getting business from realtors, right? And you learned.
And builders. Because back then, a majority of the builders didn't have their own mortgage company.
They didn't.
So
right.
like Hammond's Homes, some of these other ones out
Milburn
there.
was one. Some of these.
So I really focused a lot on doing that, and it was really successful doing that too. And then my business just took off, and then I went to go work at National Mortgage. Where I met you.
Yeah, and that was as you remember. Was it Steve Sampolesi? Steve Sampolucci? Right, out of Houston.
Yes.
Had some of the best wingtip shoes.
Boy.
He was a
the buckles on his shoes.
Buckles on his shoes.
Gold buckles on his shoes.
He had the pinstripe suits out of Houston, and he was actually really good to us. He really was. And
we had a nice office right there in the
fantastic office. We were up off Far West.
Yeah, right at Far West and Executive Center Drive.
Yeah,
actually Woodhull and Executive Center Drive.
That's exactly where we were. And
my current office is literally 2 buildings from there still.
In that same complex?
Yeah, that whole complex.
Yeah,
I've been there for 18 years.
And that was such a great area of town. I think that our audience probably needs to understand that, if you're going to be boots on the ground, having an office in the right part of town really makes a difference.
Well, the demographic center of Austin back in the 90s was the Arboretum. And what I mean by the demographic center is that if you went in any direction, that's an equal amount of people would be spread out. So that was the economic center. That has actually morphed and moved further up 183 now. But back then, that was the center of the universe.
It really was, yeah. Right. Yeah, and for those of you that don't know about Austin and how Austin has morphed, we've been here, for the better part of our entire lives. I moved here in the mid '90s.
I went to kindergarten and first grade here.
You did?
I did.
Okay. How about that?
I went to Terrytown Baptist Church for kindergarten, Dill Elementary for first grade, which is right off of Windsor. It's not there anymore. But that was a very long time ago.
But you built those.
We actually lived when my dad was going to UT prior to law school. We lived on Lake Austin Boulevard, and if you go down Lake Austin Boulevard off of Mopac, there's like a little convenience store. There used to be a U-Totem there. They're right past that. There's these newer looking apartments, right? Well, back in the 70s, those were all World War II barracks, right? And they were 2-story barracks, right?
And the university owns that land,
right? And they converted them into student housing, and that's we called it the Roach. Now Roach is literally this big, but it was I was in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, so I didn't care. But I just remember just living over there, and they would put somebody would put movies up with their big projector in the park right behind it, which is probably gone now. But yeah, that was a simpler time of life in Austin.
Well, you mentioned Lake Austin Boulevard, which we both know really well. You mentioned Terrytown, which we both know really well. Lived in that area, live in Westlake now. We're in areas, and you're in
Allendale.
Yeah, and so, but you have always been in and around the scene, so to speak, right? And I think that in a lot of ways that helps define relationships, right? So if we look back and we say, okay, who were you spending your time with as you were going through those developmental years, right? As a young pup, and then growing up, making your friends that you probably still have lifetime relationships with. But the people that you spend the most time with in your life now versus those that you spent your time with then, what would you say the differences between those individuals are? Whether it's economic, whether it's spiritual, or whether it's anything in between?
It's an interesting question. I think that everybody has a part of their life, a stepstone in their life where they're at a certain position. And I was in a position when I was, in my early teens, that my family was everything. My dad was everything. My grandparents were, my mom, my sisters. Then you transition into, you're going out on your own. I was out on my own when I was 18 years old. And, there's just, I don't know, that's an interesting question. I will tell you that I don't like surrounding myself with people who are lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be very successful and be lazy.
There's some people in our sphere that we could name some names.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can be not very successful and have money problems, but be the most hardworking person you've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't want to put it into a financial context.
Yeah.
I would put it more into, I don't like stupid people and I don't like lazy people.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line.
And would you say,
and I literally can't put up, it drives me bananas. Like when I've had salespeople in the past, and I'm like, hey, I asked you to do this task, call these people, do whatever the task is. I've asked you to do that. Oh, I just ran out of time yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I go, do you have a family?
Mm-hmm.
No. I go, do you have kids? No. Do you have a wife? No. What do you do all day? Because I have 2 small children and a wife and a family, and I'm still managed to work my butt off and take care of everything I need to take care of to be successful. And you didn't have enough time in the day, and you have 3 loans closing next month.
Mm-hmm.
You should have time to run a marathon or do whatever it is. People make excuses for their laziness.
Do you still have those tough conversations? I mean, it's not tough on you. Sometimes it's tough on the person, receiving that, and then they have a choice on how to receive that message. Yeah,
they do. I found, Steve, and you may have found the same thing over the years. I still hate letting people go. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the hardest things you can do. But I also think it's one of the most brave and one of the best things you can do for some people. Some people have such an ethic of not quitting something that they work hard, they don't get anywhere with it because it's just not the right fit for them.
Yeah.
Right. And I've actually let people go because, listen, I'm doing you a favor.
Yeah. We both need this.
We both need this. Maybe this isn't the right mortgage company for you. Maybe this is not the right industry for you.
Maybe I'm not the right leader for you.
Maybe I'm not the right leader for you. So I'm not doing this because you're fired.
Yeah.
I'm just doing this because the chemistry doesn't work and it doesn't work, or you shouldn't be in this. And I'm actually going to do you a favor. And I've actually had a couple of people call me years later and say that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of them had just gone to another company, just different leadership style.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to be more micromanaged, and I don't micromanage people.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one had just completely left the industry and was the happiest person when I saw them ever.
Yeah.
So
and there have been many a times, I'm sure, where I've had those days where I'm like, God, this industry is just kicking my ass. I need to.
Lately, probably.
Well, the last couple of years, as you know, have just been magical from an economic and financial standpoint for our personal P&Ls, but from an emotional side, it's been very challenging, right?
Yeah.
With family and with kids and my situation. So it's it hasn't been an easy task, but I think in some ways, with this, with rates lifting the way that they have, and the way that they seem to be trending, it's given us more time, right, to be able to reflect on, I made it. Because we knew over the last couple of years, like, God, when is this phone going to stop ringing?
Yeah, I need a day off.
I need a day off.
I need an hour off.
I need to eat lunch.
Right.
I haven't eaten lunch in 3 days.
And now it's like, I haven't had my phone ring in 3 days.
So how do you handle that? From a leadership perspective,
From a coaching standpoint, I said, this is what you and I talked about. This is what we're doing right now, right? We're still keeping our names out there, doing the things that we should have been doing 2 years ago. And with my guys at the office, I preach, work on your CRM. That's your database management. Make sure that your clients know who you are. Take the time to pick up the phone, talk to clients, do a mortgage review, talk to your referral partners out there, develop their relationships, and also pay attention to your family, right? Pay attention to your friends, because you probably haven't done that very good job over the last couple of years. And please tell me you saved money over the last 2 years, right? And some of them haven't, unfortunately.
Well, we went through that, when there have been times where, whether it's the mid-90s where the rates went from 14 to 9 to 8, 7, and you're refinancing people, and it just seems like that they're just, the phone rings. And then you have times where
2001 after 9/11.
Yep, after the .com.
And then the .com happened right then too. That was a tough time. The United States went into recession. Obviously 2008, 2009, horribly 95% of the people in our industry left the industry. We didn't.
And then it became more regulated, which I think was a good thing. It needed to be the case at the time.
It's become, some of that regulation now is showing its ugly head in the form of like the points and fees violations you can have that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac put in place with a QM loan, or prepayment penalties. I mean, you've seen rate sheets right now, right? They go up to maybe 8.25%. But there's hardly ever any above par pricing where you're getting money back, because the investors, number one, know that if they they let you close your borrower at 7.875%, right? That borrower is going to refinance in 2 years, and that means that mortgage-backed security holder and the servicer who had to pay a point to get this,
they're going to be in the red.
And they're making about 30 basis points a year. They're basically doing it for free, not even free. They're giving money away to do it. So that's not a good investment, and that's why we used to have prepayment penalties. So it would make the mortgage-backed security holder and the servicer whole if it paid off within that first.
Well, think about that. Almost all commercial loans have prepayment penalties.
Yes, they do. Like we have some non-QM loans that do have, but that's the reason. It's because if you
have to be profitable.
If you want liquidity in the interest rate market and the mortgage market, if you want liquidity and money enough to be able to finance homes all across the state for the whole United States, which is trillions of dollars, right? If you want that liquidity there, the liquidity comes from Wall Street, and it comes from the individual investors, and it comes from the institutional investors who buy mortgage-backed securities. And if they know that if they buy a mortgage-backed security pool full of 7s and 8% mortgages, it's going to be worthless in 2 years when rates come back down, right? And because they don't have to come that far. If they came down to 6% from 7.5%, right? People are going to refinance, and they've lost all their money. In fact, they've lost probably maybe another 50% of what they put into it. I mean, it's a big deal.
It is. And you being an entrepreneur, myself included, us, running our P&Ls for many years, we understand that. From a loan officer perspective, what percentage of loan officers do you think even comprehend that or choose to go down that road to learn about it? Because that's important to understand how your industry
works.
None.
No, they don't. They don't understand how the actual mortgage market works. They don't understand that there is the loan originator, right? When we fund as a non-depository bank, we fund that. But then we take that and we're going to sell that loan to the servicer, who's going to pay us a point or whatever for the servicing release premium, right? Now that servicer actually has the loan that they're servicing, and they get paid. They can take about 30 basis points on average, right? You make on a loan, but they had to pay a point to the bank who originated it, right? So if they're only making 30 basis points, that's a little over 3 years before they even break even, right? And then there's the mortgage-backed security holder, the security behind it, right?
Which could be a big insurance company,
or an institutional
like a California Teachers Credit retirement system,
or just Warren Buffett or whoever maybe, or you could do it.
Could be us.
You could invest in
maybe that's what we should do. No money in it.
No, I'm not getting in bonds right now. So then those mortgage-backed securities, they're having, they want to make money. That's why they invest, and so that's why you see the spread between the 10-year Treasury bonds and mortgage-backed securities is so big right now. Is because more people are investing in the bonds because they're afraid of early prepayments, EPOs on the mortgage-backed securities because we know rates come down, they go back up.
Yep.
They come down, they go back up. And there's actually, if there's a recession on the horizon, which I believe there probably is, rates will start to come down a little bit, right? Because the Fed has been, I think, a little too heavy-handed on their cuts. They're going to do another 75 basis points on November 2nd. But I think some good economic news is going to be released in October when it comes to inflation. For the month-over-month CPI, they're going to be replacing last October's with this October's, and last October was 0.6%. If you if you add it all up, it comes out to like 6.7% year-over-year inflation. But I think it's going to be replaced by a lot smaller number, which will put that average back down a little bit, which I think will help the Fed say, okay, what we're doing is working. We're driving inflation down. So that comes out the 10th, I believe, of November 2022. So we'll have to see. And if anybody's watching this podcast after that, they can check my work.
That's right.
So I'm actually, I'll give you a prediction.
Yeah.
I think by March of 2023, they will probably see rates back down in the 5s.
I would expect that myself. Yeah.
And I would want them to stay there.
Yeah.
Because that will help with the liquidity in the mortgage market, right?
And it's healthy.
It's healthy. And it's a healthy growth, right? We don't be careful what you wish for. If you have rates back down at 2.5%, it's because there's another pandemic, there's a bad recession, or there's a war. We don't want any of those, right? We want good, slow economic growth.
Rates at 2 and 3% are not healthy for really anyone.
They're not because
ultimately.
it drives demand too, right? And you saw the appreciation we saw in Austin in 2021 is 35% average. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not
sustainable. It's not, and it won't work. I love Austin though, and people ask me, but how's Austin going to do in a recession? How is Austin, doing with all this? And the business has slowed down. It's still better than most years. We're at almost 4 months worth of inventory. Still a buyer's market.
4 months is not a lot of inventory.
I think this is an opportunity for people too, right? So people ask me, what do you think about Austin as a whole moving forward? And what I say is there are 3 pillars to a great metro area for strength. The first pillar is job growth. Does Austin have job growth?
Check it.
I mean,
substantial.
Yeah. From Tesla to Samsung to Micron. Well, I guess Micron didn't. They went to New York now. But to Oracle, Facebook, Google, blah 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 blah.
IBM.
Right.
And then you have the equity firms. You've got Vista here.
Yeah. And then number 2 is population growth.
Yep.
Are we expanding?
I'd say check.
I'd say big check. Right.
And this is when people are not having more babies, right? We're inverted.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And then that's a whole nother conversation, right? Workforce. But then what's the third one? And that's consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is the gas that drives all of those together. And yes, there's some worry, a little bit of worry out there, but the consumer confidence about Austin and how its growth is going to happen. In fact, just the whole Texas corridor, the Texaplex, the Texas Triangle, the down from Fort Worth down to Houston to San Antonio, encompassing Austin, everybody loves it.
So if you're someone moving from another market, like what we've experienced over the last few, ever since I've been in Austin, you rarely ever meet anybody that you go, hey, where do you live? I live in Austin. Oh, I love that town. That place is amazing. I'd love to live there. And we've seen that, right? We've seen of course, the Californians have come here and they've come from all over the country. And, our message to them is just don't come here. Yeah, don't California us,
Texas.
right? That's right.
There's a reason you moved here.
That's right. Because this is a special place.
Yeah.
And what I tell people is I say, listen, Austin in the 90s was amazing, right? Austin now is amazing. It's just different. And those of us who have been here this time, do we love thinking back to the Liberty lunch days when you could go down to downtown Austin, catch some live music
in the 70s?
Yes.
I've literally so I do, on the radio show that I do on KLBJ, and we'll talk about this Austin and its history and what's been going on with it, and we'll have people call in. They go, at this one guy called in, he goes, man, all these people moving here and just get in the car on Mopac at the standstill. I can't believe all these people are moving here. When did they, blah, 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 blah.
When did you move here?
I asked him, I go, when did you move here? And he goes, 10 years ago. I go, so you're who you're complaining about 10 years ago. I was complaining about you 10 years ago, mister.
Yeah.
And by the way, you have to have population growth. We saw back in 2009 when Detroit was losing, Cleveland was losing people. And it devastates, it devastates cities, right? So Austin has so many great things to it. I literally remember back in the late 80s working at Pearl's bartending, and some guy was in there like an old hippie. And he's like, man, if you've just here in the 60s and 70s, that's when Austin hit its heyday. And for me, the late 80s, early 90s, that's when Austin hit its heydays. And for my kids, it's like the 2000s. That's when Austin's at its heyday. You're right. It's all about perspective, right? I thought about this the other day, back in like 1988, bartending. If you went back to 1968, that was just 20 years, and we are further away from 1988 than we are. In fact, you could probably go back to 1958, so 30 years.
That's 30.
So
we're over
even
30,
more.
yeah.
Even 35. It's even more than that.
Yeah, 18 is 30.
So you could almost go back to the 40s.
Yeah.
Right?
It puts into perspective.
They were that close.
We were in a world war.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think.
Have you ever heard that thing about the pyramids and iPhones and Cleopatra? That the iPhone is closer in time to Cleopatra than the original pyramids
Are to her.
Yeah, she's closer in time to the
that,
iPhone than she was to the original pyramids.
How insane is that? Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that she was the last great pharaoh of Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly very beautiful, but who knows back then?
Yeah. Who is it that played her in? It was Elizabeth Taylor. So if that's what she looked like, she was beautiful. Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
maybe
not.
Maybe not. Yeah,
Elizabeth Taylor.
So when you have
this is iced hot tea.
I wasn't sure what it was, but I was thinking it was going to be good. So what is it? It's hot tea. Okay. Does it have some honey in it? No. So the message that you're sending to your producers, to your loan officers in this current environment, right? What is it that because I'm sure a lot of them are nervous, right? Some of them, if you have 40 producers and they're used in, the last couple of years, like we said, have been magical. And you have some that I know really well that are going to be just fine. Maybe they're not going to close 60 or 80 million this year, and they might close 30 or 40 million. And they don't live their lifestyle based off of 60 to 80 million or 100 million.
I learned that a long time ago.
Yeah, right?
Don't be house poor.
Yeah, you don't want and put your money away, right? And so what investment advice would you give some of your loan officers, or did you give during the uptime and even now?
During the uptime, I was like, put your money away. This is not going to last forever, and it's going to change quickly. And this is the biggest swing I've ever seen in my life. The fastest swing.
The fastest, yeah.
I said, put your money away, invest in real estate. Some of them did. That's up to them. The advice I give them now, and luckily some of them have been with me long enough, they remember 2008, 2009.
Louis, Jason?
Yeah, Jason, Josh, Andrea, we persevered through that time. And you'll gain market share on the other side of it because this is culling of the herd for the real estate as a whole. And you'll get better market share. I remember back in 2007, you'd go to a restaurant and everybody's a real estate agent or everybody's in the mortgage business. You go get on an airplane to stewardess was also a mortgage business or a real estate business. It was starting to get that way again. And to be honest, we haven't had a correction in 12 years.
Yeah.
And so this was far from coming. I would say probably 80% of the real estate agents in town and mortgage people in town hadn't even been in the business in a downturn ever in their life.
Yeah.
You have to experience one, just like you have to have mistakes in life. You have to experience a downturn before you can really understand. If I had a nickel for every time somebody said, Austin's different, we're never going down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. You just. Austin,
it is a special market. I think we both.
I agree with the special market,
but in the mid '80s when we had the savings and loan, crash,
and oil crash, oil went down to $10 a barrel. Savings and loan, that scandal. We had the dot bomb thing in the '90s. We had the mini mortgage meltdown in '99. Remember that?
I do.
And then,
of course,
the Great Recession, and then now, right? And COVID. Those first couple of months of COVID, everybody was scared out of their wits. People were canceling contracts.
And that was the time to buy. That's whenever I bought up some property back in 20.
What does Warren Buffett say when everybody closes their wallet? I open mine. It's advice I give.
When they close their doors, open your wallet.
Work hard, and put your nose to the grindstone. Make sure you got your bills all in order. I hope you save some money, and we'll get through this. And
what strategies you have that commercial? You still have that commercial building downtown?
I do.
Okay,
yeah, I've had it for a long time.
And that just the value that thing has.
I bought it in 2012, and it's right downtown.
Yeah.
And I'm not touching that. That's just my thing. I will tell you. And as of this podcast, I've sold all of my real estate except for my primary residence and the commercial building.
Oh, really?
Because I think there might be some opportunities.
There's an upside there. And then is it just sitting in savings? Did you 1031 it? Or it sounds like that you didn't.
I didn't. So I believe on the 1031 exchange, it's not smart to do right now because I can take long-term capital gains on these. Long-term capital
It's only
gains
20%.
It's only 20%. With the amount of debt the government is rolled up, we're over 120% of GDP on our debt, which is
unheard of. Yeah,
it's catastrophic.
Yeah.
I think that. I think the taxes are going to go up. They're probably going to change long-term capital gains to much more than that. And so
and that's
the
why
reason you do a 1031 is not to not pay tax, to defer them till later in life when you maybe be in a lower tax bracket. So I think it's better just to go ahead and pay the 20% now.
Well, and part of that problem that I was experiencing, and I know others have, even still to this point, where you sell your property and you want to 1031 it. Well, where are you going to turn it? Where are you going to flip it to? Well, because everything was overvalued.
Right. That's exactly right. And so I like being in a little bit of cash heavy position right now for investments that when they pop up, I want to be able to. Unfortunately, in 2008, I wasn't available to take full advantage of that. I did a little bit.
Did you get into the short sale market at all on any of that?
No.
You may remember I did some of that buying and selling and flipping. And
I mean, there's a bunch of people doing it. And, every real estate agent was a short sale expert and a foreclosure expert.
That's right.
And now, have you seen delinquencies? They're at a historical low still.
Well, because people are actually having to qualify.
And they're locked. Here's the difference between 2008 and right now.
Yeah.
In 2008, we had these 228 ARMs and 327 ARMs. They were adjustable rate mortgages after 2 years or 3 years, and they went way up.
Yep.
So these people got these in 2005, 6, and 7, right? And even part of 2008.
Pay option ARMs on top of that.
Right, pay option ARMs. And so when the economy went into the Great Recession, everybody was losing their job, everything. They couldn't refinance, right? So they had to accept these really high rates, and so they went into foreclosure. Plus, there was this huge incentive from the government. It's okay. It's okay. You can go into foreclosure. We don't worry about it. Fast forward to now, over the last couple of years, everybody's had to qualify. Everybody's in a fixed rate, and they're in the 2s and 3s.
And their values have increased over the last couple of years.
And most of them we're putting 20% down because there's so much money flooding into the market. So when people compare it to the mortgage side of it, the real estate side of it to that, I laugh in their face because it's nothing like what it is.
It's not the same.
People are locked into their house right now. They're locked in because their interest rate is so low. And I know there's 10,000 homes available to put a contract on in the Austin market right now. And there's like 4,200 pendings, single family. It would be much higher, but nobody's willing because why would somebody trade their 3% mortgage for a 7% mortgage right now?
Yeah.
They wouldn't.
They're not going to do it.
They're just not going to do it. So that inventory is going to sit there. And it's going to sit there until rates come back down, and I think into the 5s. And that when it hits the 5s again, I think there is going to be a rush of demand in the market by first-time home buyers and homeowners right now. Because they're like, I missed the last roll. I'm not missing it this time. I'm just waiting for this dip. And then 5% will feel like heaven compared to 7 or 8%, right? And I think that's going to happen next spring.
So you think,
I think the demand will skyrocket for the early part of the summer next year. That's my prediction.
You could be wrong. We'll check back. We have this recorded here. So I'm going to pivot just a little bit on your loan officers. When you're hiring a loan officer, or when you have one that's maybe looking to move from another company to yours, or you're recruiting. I mean, you're constantly recruiting, right?
Yeah.
What are you looking for out of that loan officer? What is it that you're looking for that you say, okay, this person has it?
Whenever I interview somebody face to face, they have to come to my office. If they get there right on time, that's late to me.
Okay.
That's a worry. I like people to get there 10 minutes early.
Okay.
If you ask any one of my kids, I go, when do you show up for your job? 15 minutes early, because the on time is late, and late is you're fired.
Yeah, that's right. That probably comes from your grandfathers, I imagine.
It does. Absolutely it does. And I get anxious if I don't get to an appointment on time. I got to this appointment an hour early.
You did. Yeah, you were just sitting out in the lobby. Yeah. Eating bonbons.
Yeah.
Well, let me touch on that real quick because I think that there's some. I understand that, and I know that. I know that that's what I should do. Me, like if I'm coming to, what I am guilty of is I try to do too much between appointment A and appointment B and try to squeeze in as much as I can to then get there right on time. So I think there's a difference between someone that might be wired like that versus someone that might be doing something that they should.
You've seen this. If I'm hiring and recruiting loan officers, what's a loan officer really? That's just a moniker.
Yeah.
They're salespeople.
Yeah.
Right? What do salespeople do really well?
People skills.
They sell themselves. They have people skills. So some of the best interviews I've ever had have been the worst salespeople I've ever hired.
Okay.
because they're just that good at. They're professional interviewers and get jobs, right?
Okay.
I always monitor my guys when they start very closely for the first couple of weeks to see what their work ethic is, to see if they're lazy. Remember we talked about being lazy earlier? I don't like lazy people.
You don't like stupid? You don't like lazy?
I don't. I hate stupid people, and I don't like lazy people.
I was going to ask you the difference between stupid and ignorant. There's a fine line.
Stupid is you're doing something wrong. You're just being stupid.
Yeah.
Ignorant means you've
You
never
may
been
not know.
explained. You just don't know. And
You can handle
and
ignorance.
you can learn.
Yeah.
I can handle ignorance. The stupidity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. So it's about their work ethic. I know whether they're going to work or not. I mean, like one of my guys, Brian Campbell. I mean, the guy is at the office every morning. He's there and he works all day long. You know, he's talking to me on the weekends. He's just working his butt. He's one of my top producers. Had this new kid start recently, a couple months ago, named Luke. He's there every day at 8:30. He works the phones all day long. Josh is working on the most successful people in my office. All these sales guys do their business a little bit different than the others. Some are night and day how they do their business, but they're all successful. The only common theme I can find is that their work ethic is absolutely amazing.
And let's listen up. Let's say that again. I want to hear that again because
the common denominator from all these sales guys with different styles of selling, the common denominator is they work their ass off. Period. End of story. It's like for a real estate agent. If you think you can be a loan officer or a real estate agent or anything in sales, and you're going to put 20 hours a week into it, you're a failure.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. And these things online and YouTube that say, I'm going to show you how you can just work 20 hours a week and make $400,000. That's BS. Maybe in the market like it was a year ago, right? But it's not this market. And this is where the cream comes to the top, right? And all those other guys will get out of the business. Because if you're working 20 hours a week right now, because I don't have enough business, this is when you should be working 40, 50 hours a week.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And what would you say the difference is between a fantastic female loan officer and a fantastic male loan officer?
Undergarments?
Probably so. I mean, that's
Maybe.
I mean, probably.
You know,
And that's worth mentioning, John,
I will
because
tell
it's
you
real.
That the number one loan officer in my office, probably of 10 out of the last 12 years, is an amazing woman who's a good friend of mine, Andrea Keith. 10 out of the last 12 years, she's the number one.
Out of your office?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's an animal.
Yeah.
Her work ethic is amazing. It's incredible.
What skill set do they have, different from us, right? What is it is it organizational skills? Is it a different type of drive?
I won't name one of my loan officers who's one of my favorites, who's been with me for a long time, who's one of the top two in my office. He is not organized. He's not.
I know who he is.
That's not his skill. He started out as your assistant.
Yes, he did.
20-something
I probably
years
taught
ago.
him that. I taught him that. But
no, you just yelled at him, put him in a corner. No, but he is an amazing people person.
He is.
And
He's one of the best.
I'm a people person.
Yep.
He's amazing.
He's likable.
And he knows
he's honest,
his products. He's
trustworthy.
Honest, he's communicative, right? If it's bad news, good news, he knows the longer you hold on to bad news, the more it becomes your news.
Yep.
Right? But he'll tell you, I'm not organized. And so you put the right people around him, right? Andrea, she's incredibly organized, right?
They're both surrounded for success.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the people that, as they say.
And they're not lazy.
And they're
Brian's
not lazy.
Josh is not lazy. Nate's not lazy. All these people that work for Chandra, they're not lazy. They work their butts off. And that's just my sales guys. I mean, I have the best processing staff and support staff that I've ever worked with in my life right now.
Okay.
They're absolutely amazing.
Well, that has to do with culture. I think that a lot of that has to, they gravitate towards people that they want to be around. You hire people.
Well, they see how hard everybody works, and so that brings everybody up. It sets your bar. If you're around lazy people, if 9 of your friends are lazy, you're going to be the 10th one. I know I keep harping back on this, but it really is the key to life and everything. Don't be lazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, get up, have a schedule, right? I mean, for me, where I am in life, I know that I have to get up at this time if I want to accomplish this by this time with my family or my, whether it's working out, taking care of myself. Then work schedule is, I know that I've got a window, and then at 5:30 it's family time. But guess what? I've got my phone with me at all times.
And that's the problem with the real estate business. But like my ex-wife. One of the things she always had trouble understanding is why are you on your phone? We're at Disneyland because I have to pay for Disneyland, right? And she's a great wife. She is a great mother to our kids.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that it was hard for her to. I don't understand why you're on your phone the whole time, right? I'm on the phone because this is what we do.
Well, and we as guys,
I made a choice to be in this industry. And in this industry, that is what I have to do, or I will fail.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah, and we've set a certain level of expectations for this family, and as you grow, financially, and with your spouse, or grow apart, sometimes that happens too.
Right.
And sometimes we might talk about this at another time, but it's where, at what cost did this affect my life from my personal life versus my professional life? Was my bank account super high, but my emotional account was super low?
Yeah.
I want
You
those
gotta
to
have
be
good
in
balance.
Yeah, you need some balance.
Yeah, and
on
I'm
that.
not saying when we went on vacation, I was on the phone 24/7. Right?
But I can totally understand it.
But
You've
there's
got it
times
with
I've
you.
gotta
You
walk
peel
off
off.
and-
Yeah,
Yeah,
take
right.
that call.
I'm not like on the ride going, hey, we're on the,
Woo!
there's a hippo. Oh, like Walt Disney, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Though. It's,
Well, what about from a leadership perspective? So how many in your franchise of Supreme Lending? How many people are in your role?
how many leaders do I
How
have?
many leaders? Yeah, not at your offices. I'm talking about across the 49 states. By the way, what state are y'all not in? Is it New Hampshire? I have no idea.
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Okay.
Sticks and bricks.
Yeah.
Number one, every person that works for me is the leader in the transaction.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
From the loan officer to the processor to the loan officer assistant.
Take ownership.
That's exactly right. Everybody,
Okay.
I tell everybody, you're the leader in the transaction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Take the lead.
Yeah.
And if everybody's the leader, you're going to get to the finish line. Then it's a hard business, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how many franchises that Supreme has. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
I have no idea. I've never counted them.
But
I'm not worried
it's
about
a
them.
substantial organization. Where that comes in is the competitive nature that you have, right? Because we've already defined that. We know that you're super hyper competitive, right? And that carries over to your business life and your personal life.
That's why we've won Best Places to Work in Austin 7 years in a row.
That's where I wanted you to
President's
go
Club,
with that.
13
Yes.
years in a row.
Mention that. I want to hear that again. Tell our audience.
I think it's 7 years. I lost. Maybe it's 8 years. So Austin Business Journal has the Best Places to Work. It's a real deal where they interview every one of your employees anonymously, and then they vote. And there's like 1 to 20, right? And then there's a small, large, and medium category. And we've won number 1 once, number 2 in our category twice, or 3 times, 3rd place, a 4th place, and we've had like a 6th place. But the point is that if you win in these categories, your employees have voted you and judged you to be the best place to work, not some judges somewhere.
Which you're really proud of, I'm sure.
That's the most important thing to me. Because if it starts, good customer service starts with the people you work with.
Yeah.
Right. And then it trickles down to the customers themselves.
Well, we can never sell rate. There's always going to be somebody with a lower rate.
There's always going to be somebody lower.
Yeah. But you've also gotten really close with the owner of Supreme.
Yeah.
Like
Scott.
y'all are like really, really close.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He started the company 22 years ago.
He's out of Dallas, right?
He's out of Dallas. Started the company 22 years ago from nothing. I mean, it was like the size of Capital Mortgage Services. And now that does $18 billion a year in mortgages, right? Has a $12 billion servicing portfolio. I mean,
What do you think it is about Scott that
he's not lazy. He works his ass off. He learns.
He's not stupid?
Here's the other key to life is always be learning. Always put yourself in uncomfortable positions. It's the only way you're going to change and learn. And I've told this to my guys for years now. We like 1 year, this was our whole theme for the whole year. Put yourself in an uncomfortable position every single day. That may be picking up the phone, a call you don't want to make, go into an office you don't want to go walk into because you're embarrassed or whatever it may be, or making a decision to change something in your life. Put yourself in uncomfortable positions. Be uncomfortable. Jason Lewis in my office, what he did, he actually went and joined Toastmasters.
Okay.
Because he always had problems.
social skills,
He was a really good face-to-face,
speaking?
but a public speaking, it was like lights. He just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
He worked his butt off that year, and then he was one of the best at that Toastmasters class.
How about that?
And he's really, really good at it now.
So like have a Navy SEAL mentality, right? Put yourself in an uncomfortable situation at all times.
Because you're never going to grow. You're never going to learn. If it's risk reward too, right? If you don't put any risk out there, you're never going to get some great rewards. You can have no risk at all in life, but guess what? You're going to go to work at 9. You're going to go home at 5, and you're going to wish Friday was you wish it was always Friday afternoon, and you're going to dread that when it's Monday morning. Man, I don't believe that. That's like with the hot sauce company.
I want you to bust that out. Yeah.
The radio show I started 18 years ago. Right?
Okay.
I had never done radio in my life, and I'm like, I'm going to do a radio show because I was up in Dallas and I heard this guy named Rodney Anderson. And he had a radio show. I'm like, I need a radio show in Austin. And I remember the first time I remember thinking to myself, what are you doing, John? You're about to do an hour-long call-in talk show. And you've never been on the radio.
Right?
So I took like a whole stack of notes. Like I had like pages and pages of an outline I was going to talk about. And then the guy goes, 2, 1, you're on. And I went, tunnel vision. And I was like, this is John McClellan. And then I went through all my notes in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I only got,
55 more minutes
I got 55 more minutes to go. What do I do? I don't remember that show at all. I was trying to find the recording the other day, but I put myself in an uncomfortable position, right?
Unlike this show, which is just flown by.
Yeah.
I mean,
so we better talk about
this.
This is ATX Hot Sauce. So put myself in. When COVID hit, so I had already been messing around with this. I had already started the company right before COVID hit.
And this is when you were living in Barton Creek? Was this
no,
when?
No. I had always made hot sauce.
Okay.
Right. No, this is when I was like,
you were always a cook. I mean, if I could, every time we always got together, you were always manning the grill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've always been making hot sauce and salsa before too.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I was like, that'd be fun to have the kids help me with it. Blah, blah, blah. We'll do it. And then it was just like a little
labor of love.
It was just out of my kitchen. I was doing whatever. And then COVID hit. And as you know, in this business, it's 30 minutes of chaos followed by 30 minutes of sheer boredom sometimes, especially if you're not at the office. And typically, before COVID, when we were all in the office, I would walk around and talk to people and, look at, go through, problems we may be having with processes and things like that. And so when COVID hit, you're at the house. I can't go outside. And, we're busy, but we're not that busy. I have 30 minutes. I'm going to go make some hot sauce. And then all of a sudden, it just went morph. Now we have atxhotsauce.com. We've won a myriad of awards last year.
A myriad. I mean, what level is myriad?
A ton.
Okay.
So last year, 2021, we won 2 first place, 2 second place awards at the Austin Chronicle Hot Sauce Festival. This year,
and by the way, for
I got you a sticker for one of your things.
A sticker, very good.
I got you a bigger sticker.
It's not like there's no competition for great hot sauces in this state.
Oh my God, yes.
In this state, right?
Yeah, there definitely is. So then we've won 7 awards at the Austin Chronicle last 2 years. We won the Hot Sauce Hootenanny in Elgin, number 1 hot.
Yeah,
and then
that's barbecue area.
And then this one right here just got number 2 at the Dallas Fiery Foods Competition, which is one of the biggest hot sauce contests in the United States.
It's called the Texas Reaper.
Texas Reaper.
All right.
And then this is a Honeybee Hot. This is a 2-time winner.
Was that your nickname back in the day?
Texas Reaper, baby. And this is called Honeybee Hot. This one we actually take garlic, we ferment it inside honey, and then add fermented habaneros to it.
Okay.
We're going to taste that one.
Okay.
This is also a 2-time winner at the Austin Chronicle Hot Sauce Festival. It's our mild big green sauce.
Okay.
And here's one of my favorites. This is a first place winner this year at the Austin Chronicle Hot Sauce Festival, the smoked habanero 5-pepper. If you've never been to the Austin Chronicle Hot Sauce Festival, it's pretty amazing.
Okay.
And it is a sight to behold. So just think about Eeyore's birthday with hot sauce.
Where do they hold it? Is it downtown?
It's been down south the last couple of years. They need a bigger menu. They've sold out last 2 years in a row.
I want to try that. These.
Well, we're going to try. We got some crackers here. We're going to try it. The website's atxhotsauce.com.
Okay.
We also sell it at the airport, a bunch of stores around town. Majority of our sales are online in the airport, though.
And the fact that you're in the airport, that says a lot because those people who maybe aren't familiar with Austin, at the Austin airport, it's all local.
About Austin.
It is. It's all about Austin. The fact that you've got some exposure there, I think, is pretty awesome.
Okay, so this is the big green. So all of our hot sauces are fermented, right?
Okay.
So if you look at most hot sauces on the ingredients, the first thing is vinegar.
Okay.
Ours is not the first. We use a little bit of vinegar just for flavor. They do that because they need shelf stability and acidity, right?
Okay.
We do a fermentation process. We fermented ours for at least 30, sometimes 60, 90 days that adds natural acidity and shelf stability.
Hold on real quick. Hey, Grant, if you're listening, I'm talking to our producer. I might need a bottle of water. If you can slide one in here. I have a feeling that this little bit right here is going to get me over the hump. Apologies. Go.
So ours is a fermented hot sauce, not a cooked hot sauce.
Okay.
So we use the fermentation process for natural acidity and shelf stability, which allows the pepper flavor to flow through. So this one is we take jalapenos, serranos, tomatillos, poblanos, cardamom, and a couple other things that we put in this one. This is our mild sauce. So
Okay.
you got to get a little chip out.
A little chip here.
And we're going to put in
Okay, so we're starting with the mild here, right?
Yeah, that's the mild.
Okay.
Cheers.
Salud. Cheers.
kind of a tangy.
Mm-hmm. I can taste I can taste that vinegar in it. But it's soft, super soft, muy suave, as they say.
It's good on eggs, breakfast tacos, chicken, and you can see it's a really mild. For me, it's a really
No,
super
that
mild.
was Kelly, my wife. She and her family would probably run to the restroom, on that. But no, that is on a scale of 0 to 10. That's probably a 1 to 2.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Next one is the smoked habanero 5-pepper. This is our homage to a classic Latin hot sauce, like a Mexican hot sauce, right?
Okay.
With a little bit of smoky flavor.
Okay.
This is my personal favorite. I have my favorites are favorite all the time, but this is one of my personal favorites. I put it on just like sandwiches. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, so good on sandwiches.
And these are your recipes.
Oh, I made up everyone's. I have a YouTube channel too.
Okay.
We're almost at let me do this.
Cheers. Uh-huh.
We're almost at 1 million views, by the way. We're 13,000 views away from 1 million views. Have over 17,000 followers. I have to have videos
on the
of
ATX on your ATX
on my
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I could tell the difference on that immediately. Like that had a small explosion, right? Not a bad one, but you can really. It has a smoky finish to it.
Yeah. Well, we smoke the habaneros
Okay.
before we ferment them.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well,
smoked
I
habanero.
could see dropping a little drop of this, maybe in a nice whiskey. I'm just saying, just to give a little bit of a kick on a highball, just drop it on
That
top of
little
the ball.
smoky flavor, yeah, like a smoky Manhattan.
That's right.
Okay, the next one's a honeybee hot. This is honey, garlic, and habaneros. That's it.
Honey,
With a little
garlic,
bit of
and habaneros.
With a little bit of it, and that's literally it.
Well, the habanero is going to bring a kick to it. I know that. It's
So
coming to the dance with
I like
boots on.
pineapple pizza, and I know that's weird. People, for me,
Kelly loves it. My wife.
I love pineapple
Yeah.
pizza. The garlic honey in this on a pineapple pizza, and the smokiness of the habaneros.
Okay.
It makes it's off the charts.
You know what they eat down in Colombia? Yeah, we all eat fried chicken, right? A little bit, more, maybe some more than we
Here,
should.
hold on. Right here, just
You
more
know
a
what
little
they
bit.
put on their fried chicken is honey.
Not that they
It's
guinea
amazing.
pigs. The fried chicken they put honey. Yeah,
Fried
like
chicken.
like they do that in Mississippi stuff. They
Do
have
they?
honey chicken. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to see what this might be like on. Don't make a mess with it. Okay, that's a level I can tell right on. That's next level. It's got a little bit of a kick to it. Mm-hmm. Might bring a little bit of sweat to your brow. Open me up a little bit.
Did you get that garlic right up front, the sweet garlic?
I did. I mean, I can taste all three of the.
And then
I
the
can taste the
habaneros
honey
kinda
and the
hit you right
habanero.
here.
Yep, that's what. No, it's got a finish, the habanero finish. That's why I need to take a drink of water here. All right, now you're gonna hurt me, aren't you?
Well, just like on the show,
I'm sweating just thinking about it.
it's the last dab.
You need to have one called the last stab.
The last dab. This may be the last dab. Right in your kidney.
Oh,
So this is the Texas Reaper.
Okay.
I get all of our super hot peppers, like our Reapers and some other peppers that we have from Wimberley. These are all grown in Wimberley, Texas,
Okay,
by this
okay.
mad scientist. The guy's amazing. Hill Country Hot Peppers. Shout out to Ron and David. These guys are, I mean, you should see some of the pictures. I mean, some of their peppers are like this big. Like they have one called a Big Texas Yellow, which is a cross between a Scotch bonnet and a Carolina Reaper, which are both red, but this comes out this bright yellow color and it's huge. It's flipping hot.
does what difference does it make when you get more rain or less rain on your peppers?
It's
right?
not like a grape. Right?
Okay.
It can be more concentrated. Although there was a big drought this year, and
Right.
the peppers are coming out a little hotter. So
Okay.
maybe there's something to say to us. This is just good on everything. This one has, I can't read it, Carolina Reapers. This is my recipe. I should know. It has a little bit of plums in it and beets.
Okay, interesting. We
I
can
think
make
you're
it.
gonna like. So this, like I said, this one just won the Fiery Foods competition in Dallas, second
Well,
place.
the fact that you say the Fiery Foods first place, second place, that's got me a little
Little dab.
little
last dab,
preoccupied here. But I'm gonna go for it.
as you should.
Cheers, brother.
Yeah. Got the sweetness of the Carolina Reaper.
I mean, it's hitting me late game. It's like seventh, eighth, ninth.
You good?
I'm amazing. Like, give me more, right?
You got some endorphins flowing through you?
Woo woo!
I think this would be a good time to bring up the scavenger hunt at your house about 10, 15 years
Oh
ago.
my God.
Probably not.
We could. That was 20.
Was it 20
years
years ago?
Like 20 years ago, John. That was one of the, for our audience, some of the great times that I've had in my life have included, until I die right now, included you. And we've had some great times over the years. And, we, with me moving and coming back and being here and being there, we've done a great job of
Watch the eyes.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Of staying really close. And I've appreciated that with you over the years.
Don't you have to
I know
cry
you
about
got me
it?
start crying about here, right? I don't know if you're better at mortgage or if you're better at hot sauces or a little bit of both, man.
Maybe it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. So you guys need to get out. You need to get some of this. ATX, I know that they can go to your website
ATXhotsauce.com, yeah.
and then y'all ship it, right?
Yeah, all over the country.
Yeah. And we need to, we've got our crew where we need to get you.
Well, these are for y'all.
These are for us. Okay. Excellent, man. Well,
I have a box to put it in and everything right there.
oh no, I might have to use that. It's light me on fire. And then we've got your stickers here as well.
These are, I think I like these. You can put these on your Yetis and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
put them on our Yetis, by the way, local company. And then is this you right here too?
Yeah, well, you should check out the YouTube channel.
Okay, so
ATX Hot Sauce on YouTube.
ATX Hot Sauce is what you'll pull
That's
up
some
on
screenshots.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, and we need like 13 or 14,000 more visits
Views
to get you over 1 million.
Just to get me over,
Okay.
get me over 1 million. Views.
Awesome,
Yeah.
man.
I had a little burp.
Legit. Here I was punking these guys, and then this guy just slapped me right in the face.
Yeah.
Way to go.
That's why and our thing is flavor first, heat second.
Yep.
And everybody gets like, why don't you make these super hot ones, knock your head off? Like, this is not even knock your head off.
No.
Why? Because I don't want to sell to 3% or 2% of the population. I want to sell to 97% of the population. So we have to hatch chili one that's even milder than this. We have one called the Big Red that's a super spicy.
I've had the Big Red. Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
It's got beets and cardamom and just all and cloves and really good stuff in it. That actually won a couple of awards too. So anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed them.
And thank you. I know our audience will as well. And I want to thank you for coming on. I don't want this to, this is our first. I don't want this to be our last visit. I think that, you're an inspiration to me. You're an inspiration to the people that are in your life that you lead. I know your kids turned out fantastic. And there's a lot of admiration from me and from others, seeing you from the outside in. But I appreciate your friendship.
Well, I love you too, buddy.
Love you, man. Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah. We'll see you soon, brother.
Bye.